idea is quite a simple one. We're working with Major Road Projects Victoria to take these damaged and end-of-life devices, recycle them to make new bollards. Great thing about this project is it creates ongoing and meaningful work for our supported employees, and it does that in two ways. The first is around the resource recovery. So our team go out on site, recover the old bollards, we bring them back to the factory where we go through a process of sorting those bollards, and from there we transport them through to our local supply chain partners who will then recycle those bollards. What we do is finish the product. So that includes adhering the retro-reflective strip. Each batch run we're able to create almost 932 hours worth of work.
We will be sorting out all the different bollards, all the good ones and the bad ones.
It'll be exciting to learn the different parts of the job, and obviously with the measuring, maybe learning how to place the reflectors onto the bollards, and yeah, it should be good.
The goals, the dreams, the aspirations of people, and that includes people with disability, are the same. To be able to provide an environment that creates meaningful work, sustainable work, that challenges them, that builds new skills, is absolutely fantastic, but probably just as important is the social aspect of that and the interactions that occur.
Been working here for 19 years. Everything's just worked out so well. And of course, I met my wife, Belinda, at Oakley Centre, and we fell in love, got married.
All the employees are like family.
Nice to be socialising with our friends and earning $1, which is, yeah, what it's all about.
We're looking forward to doing new jobs at Osei Connection with the bollards.
Welcome back, everyone. I really do hope you've had great lunch, great connections that you've forged through these networking sessions. And I, for one, of course, every time I look at inspiring stories like that, and Steve on our table, I heard him talk about it last night as well, but also to be able to listen to the incredible impact that projects like that have on people's lives. So it is that holistic picture that we always, want to learn from each other as to how the work that we do matters and makes a difference to people's lives. And it's more than just about projects; it's about people. And I think, to me, that's the best thing about the work that we do. In the next session, we're going to be hearing from really inspiring speakers who are affecting real change through embracing circular economy and putting those principles into action. I would like to introduce our next speaker, Betty. Betty Osei Bonsu is Uganda Country Manager, Green Africa Youth Organization. The organization is having an incredible environmental, economic, and social impact as they lead Africa's shift to circular economy. Australia can really draw inspiration from this move, which applies grassroots initiatives to large-scale infrastructure. And with that, I'd like to welcome Betty onto the stage. Please join with me in welcoming Betty to the stage.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. It's a privilege to be here all the way from Africa. Please put your hands together for ecologiQ for making it possible for me to be here today. Please put your hands together for them. Wow, wow, wow. Now it's time for stories. Looking at this picture, as I reflect on my own childhood in a typical Africa rural slum, I'm transported to a world where waste wasn't a choice, it was a lifeline for the poor. I lived in a community where waste were sold and bought at lower cost, which had been discarded by the rich with choice. This experience brought me to the realization that the marginalized have always been the unsung heroes of recycling, whilst the rich held on to the privilege of squandering resources without a single thought to discard. This brings me to the topic of recycled materials' role in building resilience against climate risk and achieving sustainable socio-economic systems. Join me in this journey as I reflect with you on the global waste crisis, coupled with my contact with waste as a young female. Then I introduce you to the amazing and inspiring work of the Green Africa Youth Organization. To begin with, the global waste crisis has several challenges with far-reaching impacts on communities. The daily production of waste exceeds municipal waste management infrastructures and management. A typical example is in Ghana, more than 12,000 tons of solid waste generated daily, with only 10% being recycled and collected. And then you talk about disposal. As if that is not enough, coupled with the global waste colonization, there's a transportation of waste from one country to another. Right now, Ghana has become a huge dumping ground for waste. Looking at three major wastes, we have the first, which is secondhand clothing. Secondhand clothing, we have more than 15 million used item clothing transported into the shores of Ghana weekly, and 40% ends up in the landfill. Talk about electronic waste. We have 150,000 tons of electronic waste transported in. 30 to 40% is discarded into the landfill. And then you talk about this one really amazed me. Plastic raw materials transported into Ghana, more than 2.60 million metric tons. And 75% is waste. That says a lot. The consequences are far-reaching. And surprisingly, this goes to the landfill, and these are burnt. The health hazards, environmental degradation, resource depletion, societal and social economic crisis is elevated. A picture displayed in front of you is a typical burning that's being undergone in one of the landfill. But then, hope is not lost. There is power in community-driven initiative, recycling efforts, and innovative solutions that empower local actions. My childhood story was my first contact with waste. This is my second contact with waste. In school, I identified the problem of deforestation. Households going into the forest to cut down trees, this is no news. But then I also identified another problem, which was the abundance of palm kernel shells. How many of you know palm kernel shells here? Oh, okay. It's an edible food, it's abundant in Africa. It's just like maybe apple, and it has a seed, but the seed has a hard shell nut. This shell nut has high calorific value when you look into it. It's carbon neutral, etc. I didn't know this, but working in my community, I saw women who, after cooking with this palm nut shell, you could see the number 1 picture A, when they are done, they just throw it into their fire. I stood one day and I asked, why do you do that? They said, oh, they are very local. They're like, it helps, it assists the fire, it makes it higher. I took that material, went into the lab. What is in this material that gives it high combustion values? And so with this, I solved an issue of energy crisis. Producing palm kernel shells as a resource into fuel, charcoal briquette, to assist household energies. This wasn't only a problem of deforestation, but it was health for mothers who find themselves in the kitchen 24/7 cooking. Through pyrolysis, I was able to generate charcoal briquette using this. Today, this project is serving as a baseline for research. It's supporting small, medium-scale enterprises to generate income because they are producing this at larger scales and selling. Also, supporting communities because communities become healthier, removing the waste from the environment and converting it to resources. And lastly, the partnership for the goals. Recently, I was contacted by Helion Elsevier, where this was published, saying that, Betty, this your article has been downloaded more than 1,000 times in Africa. It is supporting the Sustainable Developmental Goals. This was awarded the best project in my department in school. Please put your hands together for that. Now, let me take you into an inspiring journey of the Green Africa Youth Organization. It started in school. This organization has a mission of ensuring that the masses has conservation as #1 priority of their hearts. I was inspired by this mission, and so I joined the Green Africa Youth Organization. What started as a student movement today has more than 50 employees globally in terms of Africa. We have more than 7,000 volunteers with more than 10 community grassroots projects and 10,000 young people empowered. In terms of operation, we work on the thematic areas of climate change, disaster risk reduction, and circular economies. And our project today is existing in Ghana, Uganda, Kenya, Botswana, and Mali, and I manage the Uganda office. With a target of young people, youth, women, vulnerable communities, and ecosystem, we are creating that sustainable future for our unborn children. Now, let me take you into the circular economy project of the Green Africa Youth Organization. This is the Zero Waste Cities project. It has one goal, and that is to divert waste from mangroves and landfills, reduce methane pollution, and enhance city resilience. I was the pioneer of this project. And we had 4 strategies. The first strategy was advocacy. How do we factor in education into community engagement? What we did was we embarked on sensitization. We established eco-clubs within universities to train environmental stewards who are then serving as ambassadors within their communities. Instigating that behavioral change that is not enough to waste. We have to move away from the throwaway culture to the no-away culture. Education was a priority. We held it at heart, but it wasn't enough. We had to provide the enabling systems, the infrastructures. And what we did is that we established material recovery facilities. This facility serves as training hubs. It serves as a ground for the recovery of waste, which are then transported to the final site for recycling. We established buyback centers within communities strategically to serve as a recovery ground for communal waste, where we incentivize them per the bags that they bring. So we do not only work with waste pickers, but the communities themselves engage in recycling. We then situate coin-based refillable water dispenser stations. In Africa, the most prominent way of drinking water is sachet. We call it sachet rubber. You drink from it, or you have the plastic bottles in major African communities. Here, when I came, I had to text one of the organizers and said, please, can I drink from the tap? If not, please provide me with water, because I knew that our system was the problem. And that system was a plastic system, where the producers had changed our mentality, and so we had to change that system. Then, this infrastructure was not enough. We had to also build capacities. What we do is that we work with women and young people to utilize municipal raw materials as resources, convert them to materials that are scalable. In turn, they are able to establish small, medium-scale enterprises within their communities to generate income and create jobs. Secondly, we empower waste pickers. In Ghana, where I'm from, waste pickers, which I call them informal waste pickers, they are not respected, they are seen as deviants in the society. And when they see them walking behind households, they beat them sometimes, leading to their death. What we did is that we brought these people together, created associations for them, built their capacity so that they are integrated into municipal waste collection and disposal. Lastly, influencing policy. We are able to integrate the work we do into policies locally and then taking it up. We are able to design zero waste strategy. 2020 was the first zero waste strategy in Ghana we developed to assist municipal assemblies in managing their waste. These are some pictures from the Zero Waste Cities project. Charcoal brickwork, as I spoke about, you could see that in the solar dryers. These are sold to communities and are also done by the communities. You have organic compost produced also. Agricultural waste are collected from communities and are converted into composting, 1 week, 2 weeks maturity. Lastly, we use the same agricultural waste and the compost produced to generate urban farms. And you can see some produce from the urban farm. We also have the upcycled plastic sachet. As I mentioned, you can just see it displayed on the screen with that being done with the bonnets, the aprons, the raincoats. I don't know how many of you have seen that plastic sachet before. How many of you have seen a plastic sachet before? Okay, this is really a new continent. And then you see the next picture, you look at how we are recovering this waste from the community using tricycles. We go from household to households to collect them, pay them, collect the waste. We send them the third picture below. You could see that vast area with plastic recovery. You can have more than 10 tons recovered in a week. You can also see if that fails, we embark on beach cleanups, we embark on brand audits, so identify top brand polluters, reach out to them. The second project I'd like to talk to you about is the Water for Adaptation project and period poverty. This is a project we implement in the arid regions of Africa because that place, lack of water. Then coupled with female menstrual hygiene. It was a problem. During female menstrual ovulation periods, they do not go to school. And that was a huge challenge because they didn't have water to wash themselves. So what we did is that we trained the females to produce recyclable pads to use. And then we provided portable boreholes for them. We've been able to train more than 15 with 4 boreholes drilled. We also embark on other green skills development. From the picture, you could see them weaving some cap. If I had, I would have brought it, but I'm sure the immigration would have taken it from me. You could see the picture down there below also. How is this project, or how are these projects contributing to achieving sustainable socio-economic systems? The first is empowerment. We've been able to empower more than 3,000 waste pickers. Just at the far right of this, my right, of this picture, you could see some capacity building training session going on for informal waste speakers. And you could see the lady there fully, proudly having zero waste Accra behind her, if you could see that. We are empowering them, giving them PPEs to work. We are also supporting innovative projects by young people within communities. Just at the recently ended Africa Climate Week, we hosted a program, the ACAIC, and supported them with several amounts of money, the young people who displayed innovative projects. Secondly, we are able to upscale small, medium-scale enterprises. 10 tons of organic waste monthly are collected from one material recovery facility. It's small, yes, but there's potential. 9 tons of plastic waste are also collected from the material recovery facility. 8 tons of agricultural waste are collected and converted to compost. There's also cost cutting. When we enter a municipality, we create a memorandum of understanding with that municipality, or you call them councils. We establish a partnership with them saying that you are going to do this with us. And at the end of the day, they are responsible for collecting waste from the communities. You find out that their cost has been reduced because the communities are now bringing the waste. Lastly, there's reduction in flooding occurrences. Majority of the time you see choked gutters, etc. Now with the liters, you can find that this is reducing disaster occurrences within communities. The stepping stone for me was identifying all these inspiring stories in the community and they not having a platform to share. And so I generated a platform called Be Inspired with Stories from Africa, where communities will talk of resilience rather than vulnerability, where communities will share social and environmental stories. If you can see the picture, don't mind the facial reactions. But that's me. And so we are trying to promote stories, innovative stories within the African continent. We've covered more than 100 stories. We have more than 5,000 subscribers. It's just 1 year old. We have more than 15 African countries we've covered on inspiring stories, and inspiring environmental and social stories. And we've empowered more than 10 young journalists to be able to carry positive narrative about the African continent. What are the lessons to learn? 1, youth capabilities. I am capable. The first time I walked into the municipal assembly to implement the Zero Waste project, the man asked me that, you're a young lady, what do you know? What can you do? And I told him that the aged experiences coupled with the passion and the drive of young people is the true definition of sustainability. Today, that project is the biggest project in Ghana in terms of circular economy because of what we are doing. It has been replicated in 3 other municipalities. That's the power of young people. And young people is an opportunity to build yourself, and also it's the opportunity for the aged to invest in your young people, because we are not the leaders of tomorrow. We are the leaders of today. No place is a dumping ground. We have to take responsibility of our waste. Why invest so much in recycling when we can reduce? Accountability and responsibility. And that is why we are advocating for a more robust zero waste treaty or plastic treaty that holds producers and consumers responsible. It's not enough for them to produce, but you are consuming, so you are part of the problem. In terms of also designing solutions, we think about sustainability practices. We should think about the environment. Not only those, but we should also think about social economic disparities. The people are the core of projects, not just infrastructures. And lastly, legacy mindset. We have to think of alternative products, yes, but we have to think about what is the next life of those products. How are those policies geared towards the products? Is it designed for the people and from the people? It's a question that we should ask ourselves. Now, as I end my presentation, what do you see in this picture? For me, in the valley of waste, with the landfill looming tall and informal waste pickers at its apex, I find the unsung heroes of our time. Amidst the discarded, It's an opportunity to see the transition of a future where I look with hopeful eyes that these waste warriors are the architects of a social, sustainable economic system and climate resilience. They are building their future, and so we should support them. The Green Africa Youth Organization's journey is a remarkable one, showing the capabilities of youth. Australia can tap into this story, into this inspiring journey, by encouraging recycling, by promoting reduction, by engaging stakeholders. We can all collectively promote socio-economic empowerment and climate resilience for not only my children, but your children. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Betty. Thank you. Thank you so much. Wow, I could listen to you all day. What a story of inspiration and empowerment, and really such an honor to have you here amongst us. And I'm sure you've inspired a room full of people who will probably be taking away from everything you've said there, every element of what you said. So please join with me in thanking Betty once again. Thank you.